taxi! Hi, can you take me to the On Speed Studios, please?
Yeah, I'm going to avoid Whitehall if that's all right. Traffic around there's a bloody nightmare today. There's some gay rights protest going on. I'll tell you what I think about them gays, right? It's their absolute right to stage a public demonstration to raise awareness of the issues they face, even in a supposedly enlightened society of today. More power to their elbow, I reckon. What are your thoughts on the works of Noel Coward, Gov? I'm a huge fan myself.
With Zog, Richard Porter and me, Violet Berlin, it's
Gareth Jones on Speed!
Here's Gareth.
Anyone been listening to Gareth Jones on Speed in their car recently? I've just got a new bit of extra memory in my phone, which I use as my media player now. So I've got just about everything we've ever done. It's quite fun listening to the old programme. Some of them were all really messy, but we had a big laugh.
It's fun doing it. No, better than that. I can tell you this. I was driving up to Rutland, Britain's smallest county, and
home of Rutland Weekend Television.
Home of Rutland Weekend and Rutland Water.
And the Ruttles. Sorry, going off topic.
Things. And Oakham Chicken. And Marks and Spencer always make a big thing about it. So I was on the A1 driving out of London. You know, if you've ever driven up or down the A1, there's that thing, the Hatfield Tunnel, which is a big tunnel.
Oh, yes.
Goes under, as far as I can work out, it goes under a big shopping centre.
That's the impression I've gained. I've only gone under it, haven't gone over it.
I think it's got a 60 mile per hour speed limit, which nobody seems to
does. It's
follow.
About 4 lanes, I think, or 3, maybe 3 lanes.
It's very broad.
It's weird. It's weird. And so I was driving through there, just getting up to that tunnel. In the mirrors, I was in the outside lane, caught a glimpse of something coming onto the motorway on the slip road that comes out of the shopping centre, twinkling xenon lights, sort of at late afternoon. I was like, well, you know, it's always xenons just catch your eye.
Yeah.
Right.
Realised it was one of those Mercedes CL63s, you know, the new ones, the AMG one. Really nice looking car. Metallic black.
Like the one Lewis Hamilton had in the advert. I think he drove one in the advert, the one with Mika Hakkinen and Fernando Alonso when they were still talking.
So here's a funny thing. Glad you mentioned Lewis Hamilton. Earlier that week, clang, I met Lewis Hamilton's dad, Anthony Hamilton. Nice chap.
Oh, right. I see where this is going.
He was in his Mercedes CL63 in metallic black. And I thought, as I saw this, and I suddenly thought, hang on, where am I? I'm sort of in Hertfordshire. Oh, Lewis Hamilton from Hertfordshire, as all the press kept saying this. So I thought, I bet that's Anthony Hamilton. So then I noticed that the Merc has then pulled into the same lane as me, but about 2 cars back. Yeah. So I thought, as soon as I get the chance, I'll pull into the middle lane and I'll let him go by, because if he comes alongside, you know, I'll give him a cheery wave. I don't know what I thought, you know, I met him briefly. He's not going to go, hello, mate. He's going to go, oh, God, there's a lunatic. Before I could pull into the middle lane, there's some builder's pickup thing with ladders in the back in front of me that's just going too slowly for the outside lane and holding everyone up. And the lane next to us is moving quicker. Before I know it, the Merc has moved swiftly across onto the far inside, and using his mighty reserves of AMG power, has swooshed through. But that's it. Exactly, it was just like, well, it would have been just like that, but I had, this is the thing, I had Gareth Jones on speed, on the stereo, turned up quite loud. Couldn't hear that.
You weren't listening to the McLaren song at the time?
No, I wasn't, no, that would have been super, super weird. But what happened was, as he swooshed up, then he sort of had to slow momentarily for something else on the inside. And I looked across, and it wasn't Anthony Hamilton, it was Lewis Hamilton.
No!
And I was thinking, I'm being undertaken by Lewis Hamilton.
Hey, you're not the first. Alonso
redeemed. Fernando Alonso feels. I almost had a strop and grassed up my team. So then I noticed then he pulled right back across and into the outside lane, into the front of the builder's pickup, which then, as we came out of the tunnel, pulled in. But some cars pulled out in front of me, so I'm 2 cars back now from Lewis Hamilton in his Mercedes CL63 AMG with about 600 million horsepower.
You were kind of sort of,
and I thought
you were ready to give chase.
Inexplicably, this is the thing. I thought, I'm going to chase him. I'm going to chase Lewis Hamilton because if I catch him, I don't know what I'll do. But I was just gripped with this desire that I must chase Lewis Hamilton. Now, unfortunately, I was in a Hyundai i30 diesel.
Oh, that's cruel. It wasn't even the did they do an I-50? I mean, really, that would be
not yet. No, it doesn't. Oh, it's just anyway.
And you were probably going uphill by the time you came out of the tunnel.
Well, there was a bit of a headwind, so I was losing speed at a
and also,
fatal rate.
You probably lost a bit of front downforce from the wake from that huge Mercedes pushing the bow wave of air through the tunnel.
It was scuffing the road surface backwards behind it rather than moving forward with its mighty torque. And then so I was still following him, and then he turned off at the Stevenage exit, which should be no surprise because he lives in Stevenage. Now, two things here. First of all, I'm an idiot because I was trying to chase him in a Hyundai. Secondly, what was he doing at that funny shopping centre on top of a tunnel in Hatfield? What's he buying? I know, exactly. What's he buying? Oh, I've got to go out and buy a notebook from Smith's, and then while I'm there, I might go and see if I can get a new pay-as-you-go phone. I don't know. It was just weird. It was just. But then he was gone. And he was gone. But it was also the road was left for me. No one else, I'm sure, but for me, it was left with this sort of aura of mystique and glamour because an F1 driver had briefly been on it in a really cool car.
And for a moment, you kind of had that. So you sort of had that feeling that this is great. This is a safe moment to kind of drive quite fast along this motorway.
Yeah, because they'll get him first.
Because that guy in front of me is going to get done first.
Or they'll get me and they'll go, "Who do you think you are, Lewis Hamilton?" No, but he is.
Sniff Petrol presents The Left Wing Cabbie.
Oh, mate, you seen this morning's paper? Yeah, after these floods, they reckon water prices are actually going to go up. I mean, it's a joke, innit? I'll tell you what, if Mrs Thatcher was in power, things would be very different, wouldn't they? And actually worse, in my view. I mean, arguably, it's her pursuit of a libertarianist economic dogma what got us into this mess in the first place, with her failure to realise that certain key industries should remain under state control.
Richard, you've got the Apple iPhone now, and I know you.
Sorry.
Is it talking to the Bluetooth in any of your cars very briefly? Is it working?
Is it ever? Yeah,
it's doing it lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah.
Well, I've had mine playing through the media of various machines, working very nice these days through my phone. That's sort of getting me there. But I want to take this whole Apple idea thing because the design of the Apple iPhone is quite nice, isn't it? It's quite nice.
It's basically what Apple do best, I think, is user interface stuff, user experience stuff. I mean, I'm a big Apple fan, as you guys know.
You're an Appleisty.
Yeah, Apple fanboy, whatever you want to call it. I love Apple products. I've been using Macs for over 10 years. Was
just work,
an early iPod. What I think is the key to, for me, the success of most of what Apple does is that it manages to do things in such a way that you're presented with a very kind of an easy to navigate user experience, whether this is in a user interface, an operating system, or in some software, often through some quite sort of complex and powerful stuff. Yeah. And it does it in a way that is not intrusive or patronising.
Right.
Yeah. So in other words, you look at something like the iPhone or the iPod, and it's easy to use. It's actually quite a powerful thing. There may be, if you like, competing products that are in raw terms perhaps higher spec. People can say that there are better smartphones than the iPhone, for example, but they're not as good as the iPhone because they're not as easy to use, and therefore you as a user do not get as much out of the thing as you do with the possibly slightly lower spec nominally thing, but that is giving you better access to all of its functions. You get into using it more easily. So.
It seems, if I can bring you to a conclusion, because I know you can talk about this all day, and you understand it well. It's quite a Zen thing, it's simplicity and it's purity. That itself is a Zen essence.
I mean,
and I don't mean Zen by creative. I mean, I mean the Buddhist principles of Zen, which I think drive a lot of design, because
harmony and balance.
Thank you. Exactly. One element of it. But one thing I'm talking about here is, if Apple made an iCar, would it be that Mitsubishi iCar that you drove? Which I'm really interested in. I'm actually more. We talked about it before, but
well, in all seriousness, I mean, if Apple were to design a motor car, if you wanted to take this idea seriously, I think what they might well do is to reinvent it in quite a surprising way. Something like replacing the steering wheel with a joystick type controller, which a lot of people might say is a very is a better kind of control.
I think they would take it even further. You would buy a car which was compatible with an Apple Intelligent Network, which would do routing for you, which would do communicating with other cars via their Bluetooth or whatever standard that could be shared across all these cars, to start making the cars that we buy today manage each other in the traffic better. You know, the slots would be booked automatically. I think this is what Apple would do.
I mean, that's something that
generationally
I can certainly imagine happening. Before too long, is having much more. Intrusion, if you like, in the driving.
There's got to be a downside, though, Richard. Come on, if you owned an Apple car, right? What would be the downside? The customer service. You find
no, because I had a little problem with my Apple computer, and I took it into an Apple shop, and they, even though it was out of warranty, they fixed it for me for now. It was really nice. I don't know why I'm saying that, because I don't buy into this idea.
Richard, that wasn't funny.
I know it wasn't funny. It was just, you asked me whether there would be a downside, and you said it's service, and I went, no, I've had really good service from Apple. And I went into tell you what, I bought my iPhone, which I know makes me a monumental ponce, but it is the way buying mobile phones should be, if you can accept that you have to fork out the actual cost of the phone rather than the subsidised cost of other mobile phones. But I went into the Apple shop and said, I'd like an iPhone, please, and they went, there you go, there's one, and then they mildly raped my switch card, and that was it. But then I went home, plugged it into my computer, and then you decide what kind of contract you want, and then they activate your phone, and then they port across your number, so you don't have to talk to some abysmal hair-gelled weasel in Carphone Warehouse, which I think is the future. I would pay £279 or whatever it is just to not do that, and so I did, and it is the future. Okay. But here's the Apple thing.
It's justified the expense already.
The Apple thing, because I don't buy into this. I always think American corporations that market themselves as funky and laid back are actually extremely sinister, more sinister than, say, Microsoft, which everyone accepts is evil. I'm sure Apple's as evil as Microsoft, but they've just marketed themselves very well, like Gap or Starbucks. Hey, American companies that do that. There was remind me of Ned Flanders in The Simpsons. Hey, let's have some fun, and they're actually really odd behind it. There's something weird about it.
There's no way you can argue that Apple is as evil as Microsoft. Apple has never done anything as bad as the evil of that paperclip that pops up and asks
that's the purest manifestation of evil.
It looks like you're doing this. Would you like me to help you do that? No, I'd like you to go away and never come back into my life.
Guys, so to bring this to a conclusion, the old gag, Microsoft are going to start building cars.
Oh, God,
it works perfectly fine, but every now and again it'll stop into what you have to do is get out, open all the doors, close it, all the doors, restart it, and it'll start again fine.
And it'll crash in another 10 miles.
What's the Apple equivalent of that?
No, I'll tell you what it is. It's a very simple thing, because I'm not a computer person. I don't really understand technology, and what I've found with everything that I have that is made by Apple is that stuff just works. I don't have to go into the depths of it and reprogram it in any way.
I agree, absolutely.
So I think we're the wrong people to ask about what an Apple car should be, because we all understand cars and we enjoy driving. What an Apple car would be is it would make cars accessible and simple for people. No iDrive, no fancy business. Sort of the Audi A2 model where the bonnet doesn't even open because it's okay, it's sealed for life, and there's just a little flap that you put a screen watch in. That's what an Apple car would be in the first instance. Yeah. We forget all the telematics and stuff like that, which they probably would integrate into it. Yeah. But they would just make cars unscary.
It would be a car that somebody that had never owned one before, or possibly never driven one before, and this is getting, could just, get into and use.
Make it usable.
Yeah. I think it will be design-led, because that's a feature of Macs, that, style and design.
Very high premium on design, absolutely.
You would get in the thing, and the interior would be probably as cheap to design to build as a touchscreen system as you have on the iPhone. Yeah. That would be your dash, and you can configure it to however you want it, that kind of thinking. The only trouble is, because design would be such a mammoth part of this, the only downside to owning the Apple, well, let's call it the iCar, the Apple, is that you'd buy it, by the time you got it home it'd be out of fashion because someone's created a 12 gigabyte version or something.
And also people like us, like computer geeks, would be going, you bought one of those things, no, you should have got this like a Caterham you build yourself. Do you hate people, every time I bought my PowerBook and someone went, you shouldn't have bought one of those, you should build your own PC. I've got better things to do than that.
I can buy food that's ready made. Yeah, I can buy furniture that's ready made. I don't want to build a PC, but I might own an iCar. Interesting idea. I just thought
idea.
Oh, there you go.
It'd be like a normal deer, but it'd be just much more user accessible antlers or something.
Or they get Gijaro in to design it. I design for you a car called the Idea.
It'd be faster, more venison.
The Left Wing Cabbie.
Hey, tell you what, I'm coming round Hyde Park Corner yesterday, right? Bloody minicab goes right into the side of me cab almost, you know, it's really close. And I looked across, you never guess what, I mean, it's typical, isn't it? Indian fella driving it was, Indian fella. And I'll tell you what it is about the Indians, right? Them being over here, it really adds to the cultural melting pot that has always made Britain arguably stronger and more interesting, with a level of diversity and exotic influence that should make us the envy of the world. Oh, look at this. Where's this fella here? Hey, where's he going? Hey, where's he going? Look, gee, hey, look at that. See, black chap in here, eh? Now, I'll tell you what about his sort. They're just like us, aren't they?
Sniff Petrol! With Gareth Jones on speed!
I was sitting in the garden the other day, and I noticed a rotting toy out in the garden belonging to my kids, and I thought, wow, there's a brand that would do really well for cars. Tonka. Why don't...
Tonka 4x4s, mate. Well, have the 4x4s,
exactly, yeah. Inner city runabout. It's got a good reputation with a certain demographic group, hasn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. You sell loads of... Like, even if it's just a special edition, the Land Rover Discovery Tonka.
Yeah. Well, Suzuki, there's a synergy there. The Suzuki Tonka edition, at least. It's a start there.
Yeah.
So, if you don't own the Tonka brand, anyone, go out and buy it now and license it. It'd be great.
Yeah,
What's happened to Tonka?
I can see some Chinese car company, doing it right now.
Tonka could be spelled TH... What are you saying, V?
I'm actually interested, and I know what's happened to Tonka.
You know what's
really
happened to
know
Tonka? Seriously?
I think I know because
Do they exist still?
Well, when I bought that Tonka toy,
Come around this side so we can hear. Come here. You bought...
I know what happened to Tonka. I think because a couple of years ago when I bought that Tonka for the boys, I spent about a day trying to find it. In the end, I bought one second hand on eBay, and the reason is because. Do you remember the famous catchphrase for Tonka?
Tough toys for tough little boys.
Yeah, and I think there might have been it's built to last theirs as well.
They used to have an advert where they put a full-size Terex dumper truck, probably about 60 tons, and they would park it on top of its equivalent Tonka model, and it wouldn't crush it.
Yeah. But that was their whole thing, is that they're built to last.
Yeah.
Well, people don't really buy stuff that's built to last anymore. That's the modern consumerist way, isn't it?
We buy lots of cheap stuff rather
cheap stuff, and you get it cheaper, and you don't want to pay the money, and then it gets broken, and then you buy more stuff. That's consumerism. So apparently there are some Tonka toys still in Britain, but they're not really Tonka toys, and they don't last very
plastic,
long. I think that might be the case, but certainly the proper Tonka stuff that we would think of as Tonka only exists in America, and they still sell it in America, but it's just no one wants toys that are built to last. Isn't that sad?
How about that? Is it
over-engineered?
Over-engineered.
What a well-researched and unrehearsed item that was. That was amazing. Thank you very much.
You'll notice that second-hand Tonka truck in the garden.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been going for years, and it's got tiny bits of rust on it, but you just cannot imagine destroying it. It's so well built, and that's why Tonka is such a good brand.
It'd be a great name for a car, right? Talking about car names, wouldn't you drive a Tonka? I'd drive a Tonka. I think I would. But we got some interesting emails recently, and I followed a link back because we know where you are now. When you're listening to the show, we know where you are. We know you're off the coast of Nigeria. We know you're in Australia. We know you're in California. We know you're in Poland. These are just some of the places recently.
Get the tinfoil hats out.
That guy there is picking his nose while we're doing. Stop it!
Yeah,
Stop
please.
It.
Please, and get your audio levels fixed, please, in the car when you're listening to this, because we know how you're listening as well. We know which road you're driving on now. We have new data. I'm not joking. No, we don't have that. But if we did, we would tell you, honestly.
Probably.
We're getting close to it, working towards it. Anyway, I've gone off topic. What I'm trying to say is that Tonka's a great name for a car. I drive a Tonka. But we followed this link back to a website who contacted us, and they were talking about the Roadster, the car that we were talking about on the show, the Smart Roadster.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what the nickname for the Roadster is?
Nope.
No.
Okay, we'll come back to that then. What's the nickname for the Discovery?
Disco.
Yeah. The Roadster is the Roadie.
Oh yeah, I've
quite
seen that
right,
on the
okay.
internet. Yeah,
Nice.
I find internet slang for cars though quite irritating because it revolves around abbreviations. So there's no such thing as a Civic Type R on the internet. It's the CTR.
Yeah.
And the Focus RS is the FRS. And it's just, but if you don't cotton on to what they're talking about, you know, because it gets to the point where it's like, oh, I've got a VC. A what? Vauxhall Cavalier.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Shut
No,
up.
that's not good.
It's just nonsense.
I mean, slang like sort of maybe bug for a Beetle.
That's
Beamer is fine.
it's
Porker for a Porker.
Porker, yeah.
okay.
good.
Hug for a Persian.
Okay,
Yeah.
but do you know anyone who will ever, in their right mind, describe a Ferrari as a Fezzer?
No, I hate that.
I
No,
do
that's-
too. No one does. No one does.
Well, actually, I hate people who. There's a bloke. He's a friend of mine, but he loves BMWs. And a mutual friend of ours bought a BM M Coupe, great car, and so this BMW mad friend of ours came in and went, "Oh, mate, yeah, I heard you've bought into the blue and white propeller now."
The blue and white
Blue and white propeller? Shut up!
Yes.
It's like people who go, "Yeah, I've always been a passionate fan of the prancing horse." Shut up!
Or the
Nonsense.
It's a bit kind of like you want to be in the Masons or something.
Yeah.
Well, no, it is, and also
what's
it's
the-
basically it's
I don't know.
describing badges as well. It's nonsense. It'd be like going, "Oh yeah, see, you've got into the three-pointed star," which people do
They do,
as well.
yeah.
But they'll go, "Yeah, I bought my Rover." People going, "See, you've got on board with the purple longship." What? That sounds like sex slang. What are you talking about?
I go the other way. I do things like, I see you've bought a car built by the Union of New Automotive Manufacturers in America. What? Well, it's a Toyota, but it's sold as a Geo, so you give them a bit more information. You help them out that way, I think.
Or just irritatingly literal descriptions like your Lexus. Go, "Yeah, see, you've bought into the sort of stylised L in a kind of oval shape."
I see you bought a car with a blue oval. White letters.
White letters
The
on the
blue
front.
oval, you
Yeah,
hear
the
that?
blue oval, you do hear that, yeah.
You got a blue oval. Yeah. But the best of all these nicknames of cars that I've unearthed recently, this was a beauty because prompted by discussions about the Matra, or if you like, the Talbot Matra Chrysler Simca Rancho that we were talking about, all its various names. I had a look at some of the other Matra cars that I'd loved and forgotten about. The Morena, which is 3 abreast, great idea for a car, but that's a topic for another conversation. 3-seater cars, that's another topic. The Bagheera, remember the Bagheera? The nickname, this is my final word and we'll say goodbye. The nickname for the Bagheera is...
The baggy?
Exactly.
No.
The baggy. And they say, if you've ever driven one with the loose panel, and that's a perfect name.
It's a good enough reason not to buy it right there, the nickname.
Say goodbye, men.
Goodbye.
Bye. Men.
Whoops.
Anyone give me time?
Here we go.
Angel.
Whoops.
Stockney Winton. Westminster.
Couldn't be much further from the French Riviera than sitting in the backseat of this Nissan Primera. I should be sipping cocktails on the Adriatic Sea. Instead I'm breathing in his lemon-scented magic tree.
Yeah, 2424. 24. Pick up Gareth Jones on speed. Roger.
Oh, minicab drivers aren't the best, but I doubt if this bloke could even pass the driving test.
Yeah, 2424.
For 15 minutes we've been stuck in this estate. Now he stops for petrol and I'm going to be late. He needs help navigating, so I lend a hand. But he's speaking in a language I just don't seem to understand. He doesn't get it. I don't want Westminster Abbey. It's like I'm speaking Urdu, but he's hearing Punjabi. Other modes of transport start to look real fab when you spend your time in a minicab. Other modes of transport start to look real fab when you spend your time in a minicab.
Why are you going to Westminster Abbey?
Ford pickup, 24.
Here we go! His springs have sprung, his dampers are damp. The seat smells worse than the stench of a tramp. But really, this trip could have been terribly bad if I'd paid 60 quid to travel in a London black cab.
Yeah, 24. Come back to base.
Roger, 24, Roger.
I think I'd rather travel in an Austin Maxi than this puke-stained, smoky, dodgy amateur's taxi now. Other modes of transport start to look real fab when you spend your time in a minicab. Other modes of transport start to look real fab when you spend your time in a minicab. I really wish I wasn't sitting in the back seat of this puke-stained, smoky, dodgy amateur's taxi. been driving around for 100 hours this week. He doesn't look alert, he could do with some sleep. He supplements his income with stuff he's offering me. No mate, I don't want to buy a mobile phone or a DVD.
Roger, 2-4, Roger.
Yeah, come back to base. Pick up GJOS on speed. Yeah, Roger.
The music on his radio is weak and pathetic, so we talk about politics and the terrible traffic. He's polite on the road, not rude or unforgiving. I guess he's just like me, he's just trying to earn a living. Other modes of transport start to look real fab when you spend your time in a minicab.
Come on, gents. Anybody
Other
empty?
modes of transport start to look real fab when you spend your time in a minicab. This is the worst journey I've ever had, see? Sitting in this backseat of this illegal taxi. I think I'd rather suck and lick an ear that is waxy than travel in this Fugue State smoky, dodgy amateur's taxi. Let me see if I can think of another one.
How long to her?
I think I'd rather have a jackboot up me jacksie than get caught in this freeze frame from the movie Quannas Catsy.
Anybody give me time? So far, 10
Don't
minutes.
make me travel in a dodgy taxi.
2-4, 2
Please
hours.
don't
2-4.
make me travel in a dodgy taxi.
It's too long, mate, too long. Anybody empty anywhere? Anyone give me time?
My bike's dangerous.
Soho, dangerous.
Can't afford to drive my car in the West End anymore. Don't tell me I've got to use public transport. Oh. Subscribe to this podcast at iTunes. Get more information at www.garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed was made by Whiz Bang.